Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be sharing my fitness journey with type 1 diabetes, how I started my fitness journey while living with this condition and how I went from having kind of average to kind of poor blood sugar control and really hating exercise and having quite a bad body image to having an HbA1c in the sixes and absolutely loving exercise and being the fittest and strongest and healthiest and happiest I have ever been. Make sure you stick around to the end because I will be summarising all of the key things I have learned throughout my journey and summarising the things that I maybe would have done slightly differently to get results faster had I had been as educated back then when I started my fitness journey as I am now. So let's take this video all the way back to when I was diagnosed at 7 years old. So pre-diagnosis, like a lot of people, I lost a lot of weight because obviously your body goes into kind of a sense of shock and it doesn't know what the hell is going on, so you do tend to lose quite a lot of weight. So I was put on a diet to help me gain back all the weight that I had lost before my diagnosis. But as a result of this, I ended up putting on kind of a bit extra weight, and also when you grow up you do tend to kind of put on puppy fat anyway, but I just felt like I put on a bit more fat than the other kind of kids around my similar age. So I started around 13 years old to have quite a bad body image of myself. At this point as well, my diabetes care was kind of very basic. I wasn't really doing any sport. I was terrified of PE because I was so awful at it. If you have seen my kind of type 1 diabetes journey video where I share all about how I honed in on my diabetes control, then you will have seen in that video I just hated PE because I was just so awful and it was so embarrassing. So I didn't really do any sport until I kind of got to the point around 13 years old where I just felt uncomfortable being bigger than the other kids. So I wanted to do something about it. Obviously 13 years old, you don't really know what the hell you're doing. I started going on walks with my dad, and I also did body balance with my mum, which I don't know if you know, but it's kind of like a yoga mixed with Pilates workout, more chill, nothing particularly intense. My HbA1c over kind of my early teenage years creeped up to about 11, and like the activity I was doing wasn't particularly anything, like I said, it wasn't anything intense, so it didn't have a massive effect on my blood sugars either way. So obviously with just doing walks and kind of yoga style workouts, I didn't really lose any weight and my body image kept getting worse and worse, and as a result my diabetes kept getting worse and worse because I fell into eating disorder behaviour and I would manipulate my diabetes to fit the behaviour that my eating disorder wanted me to be doing. Kind of things that were really unhealthy behaviours that stemmed from a negative body image but led into my diabetes control. That kind of started from around 14, 15 years old and lasted to 18, 19 years old. It wasn't until though when my mum passed when I was 17 that I stopped doing body balance and I really headed straight in to quite high intensity exercise. At this point I wasn't comfortable going into the gym by myself or at all really and lifting weights and doing that kind of thing, so I was still doing classes, but I did kind of more weights-based classes and spin class, so there's obviously really high aerobic intensity, and I kind of became quite obsessive with my exercise. I still wasn't paying huge amounts of attention to them because as kind of a coping mechanism I had made myself super busy, filling my time with loads of exercise and was like working and doing like final years of school and that kind of thing, and so my diabetes was still at this point a second priority, but introducing the weights-based aspect did have the positive effect that my HbA1c started to reduce quite a lot, down to around 8 from 11 over those few years. So that's when I started to see that doing exercise and taking care of my health, although I hadn't been taking care of my mental health at that point, it did have a knock-on positive effect on my diabetes. So then when I moved to uni, I didn't have access to classes like I did at home, so I decided I was finally going to take the plunge and just go into the gym. I had a college gym that was really tiny. I bought a guide. Had I kind of known what I know now, I would not have bought the guide I bought because it was one of those like bikini body guides that actually do nothing really for you. They did something for me because I'd never done it before. As like a beginner, any kind of guide is going to get you somewhere, but that progress will very quickly stop. It gave me the confidence to go into the gym because I felt like I knew what I was doing. So that's 100% something I would recommend if you're new to the gym and don't know what you're doing, is buying a guide or getting advice from some kind of personal trainer that is qualified. Always go for someone who is a reputable source and who actually knows what they're talking about, not just kind of some influencer or model that just writes a bikini body guide and doesn't actually know the science behind anything. It was at this point in my first year at university that I did start to pay increasingly more attention to my diabetes, because I was realising that the more I exercised, the lower I was going, which was good, but also I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going hypo, because that then prevents you from doing the exercise. I was definitely getting less obsessive over my exercise, which was good. I was kind of getting a more healthy balance with exercise. We were starting to get towards the point where it was becoming a real positive in my life for mental health and physical health, both in terms of like just general people health and diabetes health. My HbA1c by this point was around 7. I did also in my first year at university start tracking macros. I will say I did not track them properly at university, as in I didn't understand what I actually needed to fuel my body, so the macros that I was tracking weren't correct to fuel me. If you want to learn more about IFYM and tracking macros, then head to my video that I did dedicated to what it is, how to do it, and what's the difference between this and intuitive eating. So I will link that to this video. As of my second year at uni, I can say I had come out of that obsessive exercising behaviour, because I started to read more science-based exercise and nutrition research, and it proved to me that I needed to fuel myself properly and also take rest. I read so many articles that really championed rest and recovery, and that really helped me break the obsessive exercising cycle and helped me break the idea that I needed to be eating under a certain number of calories to make any kind of progress, which was not true, and I was actually under-eating for a long time while I was exercising. My second year I actually moved uni, and the gym I had was incredible. Like, my uni gym was great, and so I drastically moved away from the idea of exercising for aesthetic goals and moved into focusing on my strength. I bought a new science-based training program which I followed religiously and made masses of progress in terms of building muscle in my second year, which kind of was the biggest change that I had in terms of my mental health and my diabetes, because I was focused on what my body could do. So I was focused on getting stronger, I was focused on getting faster, more agile. Also, building muscle drastically improves your diabetes management because you need less insulin, because your body is more metabolically active, so you're burning through more carbs basically at rest and while exercising, so your insulin needs drastically reduce, which makes it so much easier to carb count and adjust for certain situations. And so getting into a strength-based or weights-based workout program is something I would recommend to anyone with diabetes for managing your blood sugars. So by this point my HbA1c was now into the high 6s. I also realised that exercising on a high blood sugar is, number one, really dangerous, because exercising on a high blood sugar is what can cause kind of nerve damage and those long-term complications we always hear about. But also, if you're exercising on a high blood sugar, you're not actually going to make as much physical progress because you're not going to be building muscle in the same way that you would with a normal blood sugar. So I really focused in on my blood sugars in my second year at uni. It was at this point, kind of second year, third year, that I looked into getting my Libra. If you want to know more about the Libra and why I decided I wanted one and how you can get one and what the advantages are, I will also link to this video, a video that I did answering all of those questions. It's a completely 100% comprehensive video, everything you need to know about the Libra, and specifically getting the Libra in the UK as well, how you can go about that and getting on the NHS. Like I said, during my second year I was really focused on my athletic performance and strength, and so I was eating to fuel, and I was gradually increasing the amount of calories I was eating, which set me up perfectly for my third year, which was a year abroad. I wasn't focusing in any way, shape or form on my aesthetics and the gym in terms of how I wanted to look during my year abroad, because I wanted to enjoy the experiences, but I used the gym to set myself a routine. I'm a massive routine person, and when I have a routine and a schedule, I feel more at home. And obviously for the first while while you're abroad and away from your family, it can be quite daunting. So the gym for me was like a getaway from all of those feelings, a feeling of being at home, but also because I had increased my calories quite a lot, I felt completely fine if I was like missing sessions or whatever, because I had built up a significant amount of muscle compared to where I had been. I knew my body would kind of carry on taking over, and anything that I did during this year abroad isn't going to make a massive catastrophic disaster to any progress that I'd made. Like I said, I was training for performance and that kind of thing, but obviously we all do still train because we want to look a certain way. And having gone through the process of gradually building up my calories, I knew that I was safe to kind of enjoy myself still and not have to worry about kind of undoing all the progress I'd done. I guess you could say from my second year to the end of my third year was kind of like a bulking phase, and I was just focused on enjoying the culture in Paris and Russia. And I was still focusing more and more on my diabetes management. This is when I started my diabetes and fitness related Instagram account, which if you haven't already seen, go and check out the link in my bio and follow me over there, because that is where I share daily all of the tips and advice that I have about living a healthy and active lifestyle with diabetes. But that's where kind of my motivation really set in, was kind of end of second year, beginning of third year, in relation to my diabetes. And I was looking more into getting the Libra, which I managed to get just after my third year. It was at this point I got the Libra, and that made, let me tell you, the biggest difference in my diabetes control. It's the Libra, a book that I have read, which I will link below, called Think Like a Pancreas, and weight training, that are the three things that have made the biggest positive impact in my diabetes management in the whole 15 years that I have been diagnosed. If you are unsure about technology, go for it. If you're unsure about exercise, go for it, and just read the book because they are life-changing. I was, like I said, kind of increased my calories, training for performance, and it's at this point that I was at the strongest point that I've ever been in my life. I have lost strength now. Obviously we've been in coronavirus and I haven't been able to train like as I would have done, but it was at this point I did a fundraising challenge raising money for Diabetes UK, and I set myself the challenge of squatting 40,000 kilograms over the course of 4 hours. So I started off with 80 kilograms and doing like 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps, gradually reducing the weight, increasing the reps until it added up to 40,000 kilograms. It took me 3 hours and 10 minutes, and that was definitely an experience. It felt great. I raised a lot of money for Diabetes UK, and I just felt so strong and empowered as a person. And knowing that I had been able to do this and train for this while living with type 1 diabetes proved to me that we can do anything we want to do. Like, whatever goal you have in your head, you can do it, and diabetes does not stop you. Whether that's a career goal or a fitness goal or just a general life goal, diabetes does not have to get in the way. And that, me doing that challenge 100% proved that to me. My diabetes was not a problem the whole day, and it was just like such an achievement to overcome while living with this condition. So the only kind of negative thing to come from that challenge was that obviously it put my muscles under a huge strain for 4 hours or 3 hours, and I did slightly injure my back. So I decided this was a good point to take the weights down and kind of reduce the amount of stress I was putting my body under, because I had been increasing weight that my body was lifting for 3 whole years and not really taking any massive breaks from that. So I switched the focus towards more kind of athletic performance, agility, and slowly reduced my calories slightly so that I could kind of lose a bit of the excess weight that I put on while building muscle, because as you build muscle, no matter how carefully you do it, you are going to put on some excess fat. I never got to the point where I felt like I always felt fine. I never felt like I needed to lose fat, but I thought, as I'm not lifting as heavy as normal, I may as well switch my goals around, change up my training to protect my body while getting something out of it aesthetically at the same time. That was at the beginning of my 4th year of uni, so last year, November 2019, was the challenge, and from then on, kind of from Christmas, was when I decided to slowly reduce my calories. And so that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm training entirely to feel good, for performance, for feeling fast and strong, and it has all fed into better diabetes management. Especially being in lockdown at the moment, I have really honed in on my blood sugars. My HbA1c, I last got tested again around November, that the kind of time when I was doing that challenge, and it was 6.5. I really honestly think that my HbA1c is lower now because my time in target has gone up by about 5%, because I have learnt more and more how to manage my insulin doses around what I'm eating and my general overall calorie intake in that kind of period of time, and the type of exercise I'm doing, whether it's solid weights or HIIT circuits or runs or whatever I'm doing. I know now exactly how I want to manage my insulin doses for those different types of exercise. One thing I know for sure is that I would never have made the amount of progress I have made in terms of my strength and my power and the way I look if I hadn't have taken that step to take control of my diabetes management and focus in on getting my blood sugars to the point where they were going to, one, allow me to train full stop, and two, allow me to train safely and optimize my training. There's no point, literally no point, in putting yourself through the most intensive training program if your blood sugars are constantly either high and so you're not actually building muscle the way you want to be building, or they're low and so you're constantly having to eat excess calories to treat hypos, or you can't train because you're too low. It all starts with your blood sugars, and once you have that down, then you can build on that. So I would like to end this video with my top takeaways from my personal journey of fitness and an active lifestyle with type 1 diabetes. Like I just said, my number one focus is always going to be start with the blood sugars, start with the diabetes, get that under control, and your progress will zoom by so much faster. The second thing is to try to focus on performance over looks and aesthetics. I know it's easier said than done, and obviously that's, like I've explained, that's not how I got into it. But when I started making progress was actually when I stopped thinking about the way I looked, because I stopped getting into restrictive behaviours that were actually holding me back, to focusing on what my body can do, what I can lift, how fast I can run, how high I can jump, all those kind of things. And that's when I made progress, because my stress levels were down, so my body wasn't in a constant state of stress and worry. And also I was just able to relax around my training to get the most out of it. Thirdly is start with structure from the beginning. Oh my gosh, I wasted so much time, like I said, doing bikini body guides, workouts that didn't work and give you long-term progress. You want to start with a plan and start with a training guide or some form of program that builds in solid structure, not just random workouts. You can see how you're progressing week to week. You've got progressive overload, so that means you're either increasing the weight or the reps or the sets or the time under tension over time, so that your muscles are constantly being put under a new level of stress. That is how you're going to make the most progress. That's going to how you're going to put on the most amount of muscle, how you're going to lose more fat. Whatever your goals are, you need a structure. The final thing that I need to mention in this video is that food is fuel. Like I said, you will not make progress if you're not fueling your body correctly. If you are trying to lose weight and you're under eating on calories, number one, you're not going to be able to perform as well, which means you won't actually burn as many calories, so you're eating less but burning less, so you come out at a flat zero. But also you will lose muscle really rapidly and go into a downward spiral where the less muscle you have, the less metabolically active your body is, and so you're actually burning less calories again. So actually, up to a point, the less you eat, the less you burn, the less fat you lose. But also, not even looking at kind of the negative aspect of it, but positively, the more you fuel your body correctly, the better you're going to perform. Fueling your body isn't just for building muscle. Fueling your body is for at every point of your fitness journey. You want to feel awake and alive and energized every single day so that you can get on with the other parts of your day and smash through your workouts and leave the workout feeling accomplished and feeling like you've given it your all and you've got the most out of it you possibly can. Because there's no point wasting all of those hours in a day and in a week working out if you're not making progress, because your body can't move the way it should do because you haven't eaten right. So there you have my fitness journey with type 1 diabetes. I hope you have learned something from it. I hope you can kind of learn from my mistakes, and if something about my kind of restrictive eating behaviours and obsessive exercising behaviours has resonated with you, then please seek support, professional support, personal support from family members and friends, and try and find your way out of those destructive cycles. But other than that, I hope maybe you've learned a bit about the effects of muscle on your blood sugars, and are maybe inspired to inquire about the Libra, and are just inspired to get exercising with diabetes, and knowing that there is nothing that you can't do living with type 1 diabetes. If you guys enjoyed this video or found it useful, please give it a like so I know that I'm making content that is actually helpful for you and know what kind of videos you're enjoying watching. But for now, I will see you in the next one. Bye!